I really enjoyed reflecting on my time in fashion design school, and y'all seem to like it too. So today I wanted to make a video going over the types of projects and exercises I completed in my fashion design program. If you're someone who's considering going to school for fashion design but thinks it sounds a little intimidating, I'm hoping this video will make it feel more approachable. Or if you're a home sewist that's just trying to get better at your craft, you can borrow some of these ideas for good practice. Keep in mind though, obviously going through these exercises at home is not going to be a complete substitute for a real fashion design degree. I think one of the biggest benefits of going to college for fashion design is the networking opportunities you'll make while you're there. But that and other pros of going to college for fashion design are a topic for another video. So for now, let's get started going through these exercises. Especially in our sewing classes, one of the classic homework assignments would be given are these binders. So the way that it would work is you would get a 10 by 10 piece of muslin and sew a sample of what was asked to be demonstrated, and then you would organize it in the binder with sheet protectors. So it'd be one sheet protector and one muslin per exercise. And I wish I had mine to show you, but I was able to reach out to one of my old fashion professors, and she very kindly sent me these stitching exercises for one of her classes. So how I was thinking this video could work is that I would give you the technique and show you an example on screen, and you could use your favorite sewing book or YouTube to research how to do this technique. Hey guys, Editing Nabila here. So to avoid any issues with copyright, I'm actually not gonna include the images in this video, but I will link some blog posts with some good example images in the description for you. Some of these links are tutorials, and to be transparent, I haven't necessarily vetted them, but I'm sure they're fine. But at least this way you can see the images and you can use YouTube or your favorite sewing book if you need additional guidance. Back to the video. So some of the techniques that I wanted to highlight are the welt seam, the flat felled seam, and the slot seam. And then the zippers I wanted to highlight are the centered zipper, the lapped zipper, invisible zipper, and fly front zipper. And then you have the patch pockets and welt pockets, slip basting, the catch stitch, bound or Hong Kong seams, and there are more here that I'm going to show on the screen, but I'm specifically highlighting the techniques that you might not have encountered as a home sewist. One thing I recommend is just buying a really good sewing book and going through all the exercises shown on the book on a piece of muslin or scrap fabric, and that way you're practicing the technique without having to design a whole garment based upon that technique. We also had a binder in our couture class, and some of the exercises that I remember completing are lace applique, which is when you cut out the lace and hand stitch it in place wherever you want. That's commonly used in bridal. And then there's fabric covered buttons, beading, a hand sewed buttonhole, and basically most techniques that require hand sewing are considered couture, and that's because it's really hard to scale up hand sewing for ready to wear or the production environment. And I know that there were more techniques that we learned in this class, but I can't really remember all of them. However, I did come across this book, Couture Sewing Techniques by Claire B. Schaefer, and I just ordered it to go through it, and I could do a part 2 to this video if anyone is interested, but this book is also really affordable, so I'll write down an update in the description on if I think this book is worth picking up and going through the exercises one by one like I mentioned in the last section. So for our pattern making classes, we heavily use this book by Helen Joseph Armstrong called Patternmaking for Fashion Design, and we completed a binder for this class as well. So for this class, we submitted half-size patterns and some sewn samples of our patterns. So in this class, we went over drafting the front and back bodice, dart manipulation, style lines, specifically princess and armhole princess style lines, collars including the basic shirt collar, Peter Pan collar, and mandarin collar, built up necks, turtlenecks, and cowls, skirts and their waistbands, and so that's specifically A-line skirts, flared skirts with gathered waist, 4-gore flared skirts, tiered skirts, pleated skirts with different types of pleats, so kick pleat, all-round pleated skirt, and box pleated skirt, a godet skirt, a wrap skirt, and a circle skirt. Then we went over sleeves such as the set-in sleeve, sleeve with cuffs, puff sleeve, petal sleeve, lantern sleeve, leg of mutton sleeves, bishop sleeves. I'm smiling about the leg of mutton sleeve because I can't believe that's what they named it. And then we also went over styles that had the sleeve and bodice combined. So that'd be kimono sleeves, dolman, raglan, and drop shoulder. And then in that class, we also went over buttons and buttonholes and facings and how to mark them correctly on your patterns, and plackets and pockets. And for pants, if I remember correctly, we didn't actually go too far into pants, but since I own this book, I can take from it and learn from it as I'd like. It's a great resource. And we drafted a basic pant block together and on our own. One thing I did at the end of my fashion design program and on my own time is draft my own blocks. I know some programs have you draft blocks in your own size in class, but mine didn't. So I drafted my own blocks, but unfortunately those blocks actually don't fit me anymore, so I think I should do that again. And then draping might be the hardest to learn outside of a classroom setting because it's pretty hands-on and you kind of need a muslin to do it. But there is this YouTuber, Zoe Hong, with amazing fashion design content, and she has a video all about draping a front and back bodice, and I'll link it down below. It's just incredible. It's like a real class. And you can take what you learned from that video and apply it to most garments. But for my draping class, we did have to turn in our drapes and our flat, cleaned up patterns. And my professor would request that we used colored pencils for our drapes and change colors when we corrected things so that they could see our work. For our illustration classes, we created the 10 head croquis, and our professor would help us choose our best croquis poses, and those would become our poses for the rest of our time in the program. And for that class specifically, we would also create different collections using our croquis poses, and we'd be graded on how cohesive each collection was, and there'd be no sewing in that class. It was just all drawing and illustration. For our tailoring class, we learned classic tailoring with wool, hair canvas, and pad stitching. Our final project in this class was to submit a tailored suit jacket, and along the way we also had to submit our pad stitch collars. And this might be another one that's a little bit tough to learn at home, but there are a ton of great resources on YouTube that I'll link down below. And then for our computers and fashion design classes, we learned to use Photoshop and Illustrator, and we also use specialized programs that create textiles and patterns. And honestly, in the industry, at least in my experience, these specialized programs will be taught to you on the job. And so I would say if you're self-taught, I would really just try to learn Photoshop and Illustrator if you're trying to get a job in the fashion industry, because those skills will go a long way. And then for our senior collection, we had to submit 4 garments at the end of the semester with all the patterns, the cost sheets for each garment, plus a business plan for our brand. The business plan of that sounded the most intimidating to me when I was a student, but at least in my fashion program, they just wanted you to be thinking about the business side of things, so that wasn't a serious part of the project. Okay, I hope this video was helpful. I know that's a lot of information, and it's also an overview at the same time because I was trying to keep this video a little bit short and consumable. If there's anything specific you'd like me to do a deeper dive on, please let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!